Good morning. This is a bit of a later video, about an hour late. It's my birthday today, so I was out for a meal and I was trying to get back in time, but my train was a bit delayed, so I just took it easy coming back. I just want to do this live video, A, because it's my journal and I like to refer back to them, and B, there's another level we can watch. Pretty much the same levels we've been watching all week, with the addition of the new all-time highs, what was put in yesterday. Just a quick one, look at news today, 8:30, we had a big reaction to CPI and inflation rate. We saw a big red candle from that, and maybe that sets us up for the rest of the day. Try not to go into it with any biasness. And news later, we've got oil news or gas news coming, natural gas coming up shortly. And then we've got the 30-year bond, so keep an eye at 1 AM and 1 PM, because usually you see a bit of a movement in the market. Might see it run up or run down. So let's take a look at the charts. I'm only going to go through ES, SPY and NASDAQ. May quickly flick through the others if anything's different. So looking at the ES on the hourly time frame, we've got new all-time high. So I've marked this level off 58.41 to 58.45 area. We've already come back into that area once, rejected it, and we came back down to another area I was watching for a bounce as well. So they're the two areas I'm really watching. 58.10, that was on watch from yesterday as well. Was looking for a break and retest or a rejection. I tried a couple of rejections at that area. I think it was around about there. I had a few stop outs and then I just stopped trading yesterday. But the break and retest long was a good trade and that would have worked. So I'm watching something similar today. If we can get over 58.41, then I'll be looking for a break and retest long. I will consider a rejection, but we need to go into that area and maybe put a reversal candle in and come back out of the area, preferably with a retest short. For example, in, down, come back in, retest with no more follow through, and then short. And I'll be using the order flow to find a reversal. Obviously, if we put through and we come back and we retest that area, I'll be looking for a long. And the same for this area, I'm watching for a bounce. This was originally the ceiling. You can see we had area of confluence there, area of confluence. We came in, rejected it, came back in, rejected it yesterday, and now we broke through it. So I'm watching this area, 58.10 all the way down to 5800 probably. This big region here, for a bounce. And that's pretty much it. Don't like playing pre-market levels unless it's a break above or below the pre-market high and low, but we are coming into a potential area of confluence. It's a pivot from September and we've got some highs as well, so there's not a great deal of volume in that area. There's a little tiny bit of a volume shelf, but we could watch this area for a rejection, but it'll be a scalp. One confirmation in our favour is the fact we are below the 8 moving average, which is that light blue, and we're below the 20 moving average, and it's a level we've been watching as well, and it's in this zone. Last time we was up here, we rejected down, came back up, rejected down, came back up into that, not that zone, came back up and then broke through that zone, and then we bounced. So it's a difficult one. I personally not going to take it. I'm going to wait for this region, 80.41, and I'm probably going to wait for it to come back down into this red line, which is the 50 moving average. And that's my area I'm watching for. That's just two areas today. If we lose both the pre-market high, or we talked about pre-market high breaking retest, if we lose this pre-market low, come back down, and we come back up and retest that area, then potentially I'll be looking for a breakdown. And our next area we can watch is this area of confluence. We've got bottoms of candles there, tops of candles. So what was the floor became the ceiling, then became the floor, and it continued to be the floor. And we've yet to come down and retest. But maybe we're looking at a bit of a reversal pattern if we come back down. Because what I'm looking at is maybe a left shoulder, the head. We may see something like that set up, and then we can watch for the break and retest of that neckline. So that's a pattern. You know, we're nowhere near that. We could just be putting in a series of higher highs and higher lows, and we could be looking to break back out again. But these are two patterns we can watch for: a higher low, and then into a higher low, into a higher high, or the head and shoulders pattern. And let's just zoom out and look at the daily to see where we are on the daily. Look at volume. So we've finally broken over this area we've been consolidating in for a couple of weeks since September, and we're putting in a bit of a bullish move up here. However, we've broken out but on reducing volume, so there's a little bit of tiredness, not a mass. You expect to see if you compare the size of the candle, I'm going to get rid of that. If you compare the size of yesterday's candle with the volume, and then compare similar sized candles with similar sized volume, you know, it's still way below. It's below average, and volume's starting to decline since we had that big push up. So volume's been declining as the price has been rising. So it does look a little bit tired. We are far away from the 50 and far away from the 200. Last time it was back down at the 200 moving average was August, and but we do have this trend line still in place. This trend line here going up, not the straightest of lines. Let's draw it again. We do have this trend line going up, and we can potentially watch this area as well for a pullback, and then a bounce off of that area to put in a new high. So let's keep an eye on that as well on the daily. Just for full disclosure, I am short on the QQQs. In fact, I've been short from about this area here, a little bit in the red at the moment, but I'm betting on a bit of a move back down soon. So it's an option, so it'll either expire worthless, or it will be in the money as soon as we break this area here, and then it'll be good. Okay, that's it. SPY very briefly. Similar to ES, we've broken through this area of consolidation we've been sitting in. Notice a lack of volume on the breakout again, this area here. So broken out, lack of volume, so there's no real follow through. You expect to see more. If we're breaking out, you expect to see a bit of a volume bar. Is a good example. Okay, for example here, and then we broke out, we had volume, and then we saw the big push up. Come down here, big volume, big push up. Although there is no volume, we normally get ending volume as well, so we don't really know whether with an ending volume bar, a bit like this, bottom tail candle or topping tail candle, but we didn't get ending volume up here, didn't really get any up here. It's all below average. So if you go back and look at the history of the candles, it's doing what it's done previously. But let's see where we end today. A little bit green. Let's quickly look at SPX levels, same as they've been all week. Let's go back to the hourly and let's just mark up. Oh, we've already got 5,800, that's in play again. If we can get back up into this area, I'm going to be looking for two plays, either a rejection, and that'll be on the ES, or a break and retest of 5,800. So they're the two areas I'm watching, and the rest of the areas, this area here, look at that, we perfectly came in and bounced on it today. So it would have been a great long. I missed it. I would have taken that because that's one of the ones I was watching for. If you go back to my hourly, right into the zone I was waiting for. And how would I have taken it? Let's look at the 2-minute chart. So potentially I wouldn't really want to take it in the pre-market, but when the market opened, we're looking at the 2-minute chart. So we dipped into this zone. This is what I'm looking for. Touched it there. I may have been tempted. I may have just stopped out potentially. Would have stopped out if I come back in, if I took the first time, but the second time, what I'm really looking for it to just come down and come back out and then take the long. So I could have used that as my risk. So if that's my risk, I aim to get a minimum of 3 to 1. Let's get rid of that one. So this 2-minute was my risk. And we would be, I'm looking for 3 to 1, so this is where I would have wanted it to go. So there we go. So I risk, for example, $100 to make $300. Not quite at 3 to 1, but it would have been pretty close to it. And you also have to take into account moving averages that can act as resistance. There we go. So I would have hit target, and then I would have moved my stop to break even. So that would have been a great play. But I'm not in it. It's easy to look at it at hindsight. So what are we looking for next? Next area we're looking for rejection down at either a break and retest of pre-market high 58.44, this area here, or we're looking for it to push through all-time highs, come back down for the rejection I did take a nice rejection yesterday. I had a couple of stops, but I did take this rejection area. In fact, it was a pretty decent one into the close. I think I got this one here, and then I managed to take profit. I was trying to get it down to that area, and as soon as it broke the trend, I got out. So that's a decent move down, and it was more of a scalp. There was no more follow through. If you look at that second candle, so push through, very toppy. So I had a topping tail there, another topping tail, and so I went short there. I think I may have added in as well when it pulled back a bit, and I got out down there. So it kind of offset the couple of losses I had previously. But I was probably overtrading. I shouldn't have taken that trade, even though it's a winning trade. It was more out of frustration trade. Let's look at Nasdaq. Then I'm going to concentrate on trading. We're in between levels, so I'm not too fussed about watching it just yet. Back to the hourly. So again, minimal volume, same as ES and SPY. So we've got this lovely rejection area. We haven't quite got into it yet. 50,000 and 20,500. Let's just zoom in a bit. So 20,500, where we came into it a few days ago. So that's the area I'm watching. I like to just draw a zone. That area there is our rejection zone. Close to it, but not quite in it. So probably not quite a level I'll be looking for. But then this zone down here is back in play as well, so we can watch for a bounce if we get down to 19,800, this region here. Again, like this one, I want to see it dip in, dip out, and find an entry using that as a stop. I know it's easy on hindsight. I've struggled a bit. I found it very hard. Look at all these bottom tails, and then look at all these topping tails, and I found it really hard trying to get into trades with good risk to reward. They're coming in and getting V bottoms, and if you get in and being stopped out, and you get in and being stopped out, and my maximum risk for the day is sometimes being hit quite early on because I've just been stopped out a few times, whipped out. Okay, so QQQ is probably going to be the same. Here we go, we're in a bounce area. It's quite a nice bounce area. Let's add this one in as well, a bit of a rejection area. That area there, look at that, almost identical. So we can watch this area. It's already gone, so probably wouldn't want to play it a second time. This area is to watch for the bounce. Really want to see it come back down to 479 to 478. Otherwise, all-time highs, I don't think we've got there yet. No, well away from all-time highs. Let's mark that up. So 500 psychological number, watch that for a rejection, and it's tops of these candles, or we can watch for the push through, break and retest into all-time highs. And that's it really. Just quickly look at oil. This is crude oil. It's not doing much. It's putting in a bit of a head and shoulders pattern and a retest. There's nothing there for me to take at the moment. Probably out of rejection area. Gold. It's looking interesting. I do quite like this rejection right now. I'll keep an eye on that, because if we can break the trend on the 5. Okay, so we've broken the trend on a 5, we'll come back to retest. This is potentially it's not quite in the rejection. I really want to see it push up into this region. There's not much volume there as well, so it's going to be a tough one. Let's just zoom out a bit. That's the pivot we're watching. Still not much volume, so you know it's got potential to blast its way through this area and through that area purely because of the lack of volume. It means there's no orders up there, and we could just see it come through quite easily. And then the next area of volume will be this zone here. So that's definitely a rejection area there. So let's keep an eye on 26.72. That's what it looks like on the hourly. Just, you know, volume might be different on the hourly. 26.72. Yeah, look at the volume up there. So that's the area we're watching. Let's mark that off. No volume. I probably don't want to take a rejection here. Let's just zoom out on the hourly again so we see a bit more. Yeah, look at that lack of volume in that area. So on hindsight, now it's updated, we are coming into a bit of a volume shelf here. Up to there, so maybe, and the volume's only going to be based on this area here. I don't think there's not much volume there. I know that because when we zoomed into that area, the volume drops off. definitely not much volume down. So any algos or hedge funds or smart money who's taken their trades in these areas have probably done it now. In fact, they have done it, that's why we pushed back down. So you can see where the volume was there, and then waning volume. So the smart money went long, smart money went long, smart money went long, and then finally it failed. So now anyone who's long and trapped in up here are probably just going to take profit down here. So we may see a little bit of reaction. Just keep an eye on this area. Why does it say percentage? I'm not quite sure why we've got a percentage. Here we go, regular. Yeah, that's the number we're looking for. So keep an eye on 2651 anyway, but maybe a break and retest long, but we've got this region up here where the point of control is. RTY. Oh, it's definitely running through that channel. Coming down. So quite like the bounce down here, and with this double rejection here. So looking weak. I quite like the bring that down. I quite like the rejection back up into this yesterday's low. So we can watch for a pullback into that region for the rejection down, or we can watch for, oh, it's quite a big move, isn't it? Look at that pre-market. It's too big of a move. We're right in the middle. So the bounce area is right off of that area we've been watching as well. 28, 21.88 and 22.20. So let's watch for a bounce down in this region, but we are holding this level as well. Okay, YM. Oh, look at that. We talked about this retest. It's a good retest area just there. Get my pen out. And we bounced. Beautiful bounce. So we can watch this area again for a bounce. So let's keep an eye on 42.632. And then the break and retest of pre-market high and yesterday's high over the all-time high. I think that all, and I also quite like the bounce off this trend line at 42.400, 42.500, and it's not just a trend line, it's also the point of control. So it's where all the heaviest volume is. And then finally Bitcoin. It's coming into a bounce area. So we've got this level marked. Like I said, these zones are just zones, it's not an actual level in stone. So we're bouncing there, so we're going to see one of two things. We can see a bounce, or it's going to lose that area and then come back down. So I want it to come back down so I can add some more back down here again, maybe at 50,000, 50,000, 60,000. Obviously if it breaks out, then we're watching for that. Okay, that's it, just a quick rundown of today's market and levels. Let's go back to ES for a second. So we're right in between levels, so there's nothing really to do right now. You know, this is a very high risk scalp rejection. 58.30 where we are now. Not one for me. I'm going to wait for it to get up here or down here. I've got my 2 alerts in place as well, so I'm going to sit back and enjoy the rest of my birthday and wait for my alerts to trigger. Okay, thank you for watching. Don't forget to hit the like and hit the subscribe. I'm literally 2 users away from 500 subscribers, so who's going to be that 500th? And I appreciate you watching.